think every single person on this planet needs to be educated and re-educated about climate change. We are dedicated as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change to embrace this education issue.
We can look into the eyes of our children, our grandchildren, and we can finally say, tell them that we have joined hands to bequeath a more habitable world.
L'accord de Paris pour le climat est accepté.
State Congress voted to ban abortion. Alternate universe located.
Global temperatures rise.
The effects on social media on Generation Z.
To avoid catastrophe, rising sea levels, and dying coral reefs, the epicenter of a global pandemic.
No exception for rape or incest.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here again. We are now today welcoming you to our session, Exponential Solutions, Turning Impact to Systems Change, Real Systems Change. And we're here at COP30, the COP of Truth. So this is about turning ambitions into real action to implementation. And we're looking at in this session, how can we change the economy? How can we switch from a fossil-based economy and sustainable economy into a climate solutions economy? And to do that, I have a few panelists and speakers, brilliant leaders with me. Reid, Senior Sustainability Director from Oatly, welcome. And Fredrika, Klarén, Chief Sustainability Officer at Polestar, very much welcome. And I think I will be joined very soon by Stegra as well. So good to have you here. So looking at what is climate solution, what kind of products and services are we going to shift to from the fossil ones? We're going to deep dive into a little bit of the frameworks that Exponential Roadmap Initiative launched last year, and that some of our companies here have applied in for real. And we're going to look at what is that? How can we unpack that? How can we make use of that? What does it matter for the companies applying it? And how could frameworks like this make an impact in switching to a new green economy? Starting with you, Caroline. Looking at Oatly and how you have been applying the framework, how has that made a difference for you, and how had it helped you in your business?
Thanks for the question. So firstly, for those that don't know, Oatly, we're the original oat milk company, meaning that we make oat-based alternatives to cow's dairy. And Katarina, it's really funny, you just mentioned like the alternatives to fossil, but I guess what Oatly is we're the alternatives to methane, right? Because we are an alternative to cow's dairy. So our mission is to make it easier for people to eat better and live healthier lives without recklessly taxing the planet's resources. And a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, I guess, we came across the white paper for the Climate Solutions Framework, and we were overjoyed. And so I'll explain why it's been helpful for us. So for quite some years, we've known that Oatly was significantly less climate impactful than cow's milk. But finding a framework which had very clear definitions and criteria of what a climate solutions product really is enabled us to qualify our products as climate solutions. And this just brought another level of external credibility, demonstrating once again that by shifting away from animal-intensive foods to plant-based is a big part of the solution when it comes to transforming the food system. Secondly, we were having the challenge that we hadn't set an SBTI, and lots of our large customers were asking that requirement of their suppliers, and that's great for the majority of suppliers. But for a company that is a climate solutions company, we needed to demonstrate that actually the biggest impact we can have is in growing and replacing cow's milk. And through growth, our absolute emissions most likely would increase a little bit. So we didn't want to set absolute reduction targets and limit the growth and then therefore the impact we could have in the milk category. So it was really great that also the climate solutions framework acknowledged that by being a climate solutions company, we need to scale exponentially, and therefore setting climate reduction targets from an intensity perspective was the way to go. And so that's also really helped with conversations with some key customers, and they're becoming much more aware of the role they have in enabling the scale of climate solutions.
Thank you so much. And we have also Luisa Orre here, Chief Development Officer at Stegra. Much welcome.
Thank you.
So good to have you here. We are looking at type of climate solution frameworks and how can they and why do they matter? You are in the hard-to-abate industry with steel. Can you explore for us and explain a little bit how you look upon it and how do you use the framework? What does it help you to do?
So the steel industry is a very traditional industry. In Europe, for every ton of steel produced, there's 2 tons of carbon dioxide emitted. Stegra started about 5 years ago now with a mission to decarbonize that industry with a production process that can remove 95% of carbon dioxide emissions versus the benchmark. And I think that's, and by the way, that's 95% using technology that's been around for some decades, but we're putting it together because our customers want steel that is a lower carbon footprint. So I think when we look at climate solutions and frameworks like this, one of the things that it helps with is to recognize that this isn't a niche solution. It is something that addresses a big problem in a very large industry, and so it shows that we are taking a significant step, and also that it's possible. But the other thing that it also does is that it shows that our work isn't done just because we reduce it by 95%. Our work isn't done. We need to also think about how can we scale the solution to other parts of the world or other parts of the value chain, other verticals, other industries perhaps, but also to continue to decarbonize. We still also have an ambition for net zero. So 95%, we see it as a great start, but we're not done yet. So we're trying to see how we can continue to decarbonize. So I think that a framework like this recognizes the effort that's being done, and it also prevents greenwashing, I think, so which is important to recognize efforts where they actually have impact.
So show what good looks like, more or less, and how, and I guess that is a relative ambition that will increase during time. Yes, thank you. Looking at you, Fredrika, Polestar is an EV company and in an industry that is under rapid growth together with other industries such as wind, solar, batteries, etc. How does framework like this help you, and what is it good for you in shaping your industry and in your business?
Yeah, exactly. We are. Oh, now I hear myself twice. Let's see if that ends. So we are a pure EV company, meaning we only have electric cars, and currently you can see 3 of our cars on the roads, Polestar 2, 3, and 4, and Polestar 5 is coming very soon. And we know that we stand for an impactful climate solution. Electric cars are really kind of a silver bullet when it comes to decarbonizing road transports. But when we set out in 2020 to really bring these solutions to the market, we saw that the automotive industry still didn't know how to talk to the consumers about this. That in fact it was a very scalable climate solution, but of course that we also need to secure that also this climate solution becomes completely climate neutral. So we started publishing our life cycle assessments for all of our cars, which was back then very unique, and now luckily we see that more car companies are doing this, to really enable customers to see the climate impact of the products that they are looking into and hopefully buying, and where they see that, an electric car has a much better climate performance than its fossil fuel alternative. And if you charge it with renewable energy as a customer, you can have an amazing impact, more than having the greenhouse gas emissions, with very conservative calculations behind it. But we still felt like we lacked a harmonized and third-party vetted framework to really build greater trust towards the consumers. And that's why we are really excited about the framework. It enables us, like Caroline said, it enables us to really have a customer-centric approach in the data that we provide, where, you know, for example, we are compared with car companies and fossil fuel vehicles in very important, sales contacts, for example, with companies who need to buy fleet cars. And those companies often have, frameworks such as CDP and SBTi and so on that they can really push for. But we as a climate solution company, we are different. We need to scale. And in that scaling, we will help avoid emissions, but we will also create some greenhouse gas emissions at the start of it. But our challenge is, of course, to decouple that growth from climate impact. And also, a testament to that we in fact can do this, and that this, thinking is robust, is that, since 2021, we've showed that we can cut relative emissions with 25% per sold car at Polestar. Even though we've been so challenged growing under these circumstances, we have been able to really implement reduction measures that show us that we can do this. We can grow and decouple at the same time.
It's amazing. And also pointing back to a report that we recently published about the crocodile economy, where we see that financial performance is possible with emission reductions also in large incumbents. But looking at you, all three of you are driving systems change, and you're front runners in your business. So that is a really important role. Looking at how you can be part of and catalyze that systemic change. What is the role, what is the challenges, but most of all the opportunities, and also what kind of enablers do you need to drive that change? Starting with you, Luisa.
So I think the challenge is often that we are up against incumbents that don't want to change. Some do, but in many, I mentioned at the beginning that we have quite a conservative steel industry. They're happy to continue as they have. I mean, not by choice. It's a struggling industry. It would require a lot of investment to decarbonize their production, and so our role in that is to show that it is possible to do something. It's not easy, and there's many challenges, and there's still challenges every day. It is a roller coaster, but that it is possible. It's important to note that, though, that there's not a silver bullet. So what will decarbonize the steel industry in Europe might not be what will decarbonize the steel industry in India or China, which are the big emitters. But I think it's important to show that there is an example of a company that has managed to fight through these challenges and created a business case that works. The opportunity is that we believe that there is a very strong market. Our customers have signed long-term contracts for green steel products on 7-year long-term contracts, which shows that there is a demand. And those are customers that are far ahead in their decarbonization journey. So there is a demand there, and the earlier we are, it is an untapped potential, and we're sure that it will follow. From what is a necessary enabler, we are a team of people that are committed to this. We want to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries, and we are putting so much energy and effort into it. And what is important is a stable regulatory framework, and that policy stays, and that we don't start to doubt the foundations that we're standing on. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're here also at COP30, to encourage policymakers that we've set out the direction. Let's stay the course. Let's stick to it. It is possible. It's happening everywhere. And yes, it's not happening fast enough, but let's focus instead on accelerating it So I think that's the key enabler that we need to look at. The other is, of course, just more practically, is renewable energy. Just fossil-free or renewable energy. The build out of that is what's going to enable the transformation of many of these industries. And so anything that governments can do to reduce the complexity or the insecurity of those processes is also going to contribute to that, to the decarbonization.
Thank you so much. Looking at you, Fredrika, how do you see your role in Polestar driving the switch and the system change? Yep.
Absolutely. I think that we in business are very good at complaining at policymakers. That's kind of our go-to scapegoat whenever we feel like we don't want to change or we're not progressing fast enough. But what I'm seeing now is that we have the power in our hands in business. It's completely flipped around. And it feels like if we put an engineer to the task, they can do nearly anything. I mean, we have amazing capabilities of designing products that really can help usher in a system change. And with our design, knowledge, our technology knowledge, but also our knowledge about the everyday consumer and our closeness to them, they vote for us every day. It's not like a policymaker where their constituencies votes every fourth year or so. We talk to the customer every day. We listen to what they are telling us. And we're hearing now, loud and clear, they want electric cars. They want this technology. They believe in it. So whatever policymakers are saying, about the difficulties in terms of systems change, that's not what we're seeing. They are ready. So I think the power is really in our hands. Of course, there is challenges. One of the things that we are fighting every day is the lack of cost of carbon. This is not just like a big fluffy topic. This is actually something that is holding us back at Polestar every day in, tapping into all of the solutions that are out there. There are solutions out there. They just cost more. So we need cost on carbon schemes. And I'm really happy to say that, there are cost on carbon schemes that are having effect already today. So it's very hopeful that these can be implemented and make a change. And for example, we just announced our Q3 report. And in that we shared that we have now sold carbon credits for the first 9 months of 2025 for $123 million US, money that we are getting from powerful cost on carbon schemes to be able to really develop our solution and contribute to this systems change that we need.
Over to you, Caroline, at Oatly. How do you do?
Yeah. So obviously at Oatly, we're focused on the need to transform the food system, which does account for 1/3 of all global greenhouse gases. And we want to see that transformation to one that is both just and operates within the planetary boundaries. And from our perspective, looking kind of within transformation of the milk category, we focus on 3 areas: taste, narrative, policy. So firstly, we have the climate solutions, but to really drive systems change or to drive that shift, we obviously, when it comes to food, people choose food because it tastes delicious and it's nutritious. And so obviously one core part of Oatly's mission is to make sure that we produce food that tastes amazing, and we drive like that sort of taste movement, which we're doing right now with these really fun signature drinks. But then moving on to kind of influencing narratives and trends, it was really interesting. I heard the other day someone say, and it's probably not new, but it's new to me. Someone said cultural change comes before policy change. And we need both, right? But humanity can't wait probably for policy change when it comes to food system transformation. So at Oatly, we're really focused on how can we use our voice and our brand to tackle misinformation out there and also influence positively culture and food environments, as well as normalizing plant-based foods, and then making it more easy and desirable for people to actually switch and eat more plant-rich diets. And then, of course, we do need policy reform. It's within the food system, we need food policy to be aligned with climate policy and vice versa. And here we can't do that alone. So for us at Oatly, I mean, it's all about focusing on partnerships and collaborations to challenge those outdated norms, break down regulatory barriers, and push for fair market conditions, so that we really can see that systems change towards plant-centric food system.
Thank you. We're going to spend the last section of this conversation on narratives. We have had a lot of doom and gloom narratives throughout this year, but I think in this type of conversation we find pockets of the future. So I want to talk about what is the narrative that you think, or the narrative switch that you think can enable the transition or accelerate the transition. If starting with you, Luisa.
I think one is going back to industrial competitiveness, and if we take the steel industry again in Europe, that the last time a steel plant was built in Europe was 50 years ago, which means that any steel plant that would be built in this day and age, regardless of it having a green profile or not, is going to be more energy efficient, more modern, more embedded with AI, IoT. So it's also just a matter of efficiency. And then which comes back to resource efficiency. It comes back to energy efficiency. It comes back to thinking about circularity in how you're leading your production. All of which is good business, because the alternative is to create new things all the time. And so I think I still think that the narrative of decarbonization is the fundamental one. I think that is why we are fundamentally doing what we're doing. I hope that the narrative shift that's been ongoing over the past years, that it's a temporary blip, and that we'll look back on this and say, well, that was just a small roadblock that we all overcame. But I think that there's a lot of themes around competitiveness that are important to bear with us as well. That it's not we're not doing this for charity. This is good business also. It is good, solid business that also happens to be based on circularity and decarbonization. The other is also resilience and resilient supply chains. And again, taking it from a European perspective, when we're looking at supply chains globally and what several challenges over the past years, like COVID, wars around us, have shown, is that Europe as well is a region that needs to think about how we get critical materials, critical food chains in place. And so I think that's another theme as well. But it doesn't go counter. It's not a change. It's it's decarbonization and good business and competitiveness. It's decarbonization, competitiveness, and resilient supply chains.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Caroline. What switching narrative?
The narrative switch I would like to really focus on is that climate action is not actually polarized nor politicized. The majority of people on our planet actually want climate action. If we look at the 89% project that has looked into kind of on country level data about what citizens want. And I think what the narrative I would really like to get out there is that people are not the minority, but the majority. The majority want climate action. And I believe that once that clicks and the majority understand the majority want climate action, we'll really start to see a movement again. And as I said, cultural change comes before policy change, and citizens have power to drive a movement and drive forward change.
Fredrika, do you hear us? Yes.
Now I hear you. Good. We lost you there for a while. So I so agree with the other speakers on everything from resilience to industrial development and so on. One that I would like to throw in there is the kind of, I'm going to be really meta now, the narrative that there's a narrative. We are hearing clear messaging from some impactful leaders that is being picked up and amplified in lobbying, in media, in a very sophisticated way, which is building the collective illusion that there indeed is a growing resistance towards climate. So coming back to what Caroline said about the 89% project and the very stable research backing the fact that there's, a silent majority on climate. We need to, really just move on from the narrative that there is a pervasive going back on climate in society. It is not. This is an illusion. And so what we as businesses need to do is that we need to stick to our commitments, continue to be very close to our consumers and our stakeholders and our employees, not to say the least, and really just continue with faith on the road going forward, and not be a part in spreading this type of messaging. That I think is really important.
You so much. I was once working very much with storytelling, and what we used to say that is good stories, they need to be told 12 times more than bad stories. So we need to just keep on pushing this positive and constructive narrative. We're concluding now with 3 minutes left, and I wanted to just touch on the leadership that we need. What is the type of leadership that we need to accelerate the transition from now? And please be quite swift, starting with you, Luisa.
I think it's courage to stay the course. We have, as a collective, set an ambition in the Paris Agreement, and now with the narratives that are around there, it's easy to fall back into old patterns or to be unsure of whether or not this is the right way. So we need our leaders to have courage and keep going.
Very good, thank you. Over to you, Fredrika.
We need leaders who can stand up to bullies right now, who are very convinced and authentic in their leadership and the values that they stand for. We need. I was so proud of our CEO standing on stage at one of the world's biggest automotive industry. Being the sole leader there who said that we're all in on electric cars, we will not do hybrids. That is the type of very clear and strong leadership we need today. That's what I think.
Thank you. Caroline.
We need brave, radical optimists. We have the science. The majority of citizens globally want climate action. We have the solutions. We need to act together.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you, all three of you, Luisa, Caroline and Fredrika, for being those leaders and showing that leadership, driving climate solutions and creating the new rising economy, and also inspire and say to everybody out there that are listening, these are the companies that you should look for. You should work for them. You should invest in them. You should buy from them, and you should just invite them in all the rooms and in your supply chains. Thank you from us here at COP, and looking forward to see you again.